what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. We are here yet again with another Mindset Monday with my co-host, Justin Thorstad.
You didn't get the sound effects yet?
I don't know. I'm not even good at the sound effects. Yes.
Hey, you did pretty good.
Improvising.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
I'll take it.
We all have talents. We want to tackle Mindset Mondays. I think, they tee you up for the rest of the week, right? You start off, you kind of set the tone for the week, depending on the mindset that you start the week with. One of the things that we think it's critical, it's commitment. Okay, how seriously do you take the idea or the principle of commitment to everything that you do? Are you committed or are you interested, right? If you're committed, your results are going to be way, way different than when you're interested.
Absolutely.
So we want to roll out with that. You want to kick it in?
Yeah, man. So, we were kicking around ideas with this, and you just said it, like, Motivation Monday starts the week, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's no different than moment by moment, especially in regards to commitment, right?
Yeah.
Like, the conversation you have with yourself before you take action determines your results. In
100%.
fact, the results are predictable based on the conversation,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're not committed to a thing, then the conversation in the head is like, well, I could do it, but I don't have to do it. And now you start getting involved with that ping pong ambivalence in your mind of should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And, you start playing with those 4 signs that you're not committed, which you're going to unpack, of course. So I think it's so important moment by moment to check in to the conversation you're having with yourself before taking action.
Well, I mean, it is, right? And I think also just seeing and being a forward thinker when it comes to that kind of stuff, it takes commitment, right? You already got to have a sense of commitment if you're thinking a few years ahead. And I think it's one of the things that's often overlooked, right? Yeah, I mean, I have a plan, I set up a plan for something, but if you have, if something is blocking your vision, subconsciously, you're not really marrying the idea of commitment to whatever the action is, right? For
Absolutely.
example, I remember talking to you years ago about your brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a very successful brokerage in town, and it's growing like wildfire. People are just gravitating to it, and you're doing real well, right? Years ago, I remember sitting at a restaurant, and it was just a thought. It was just a thought. However, you saw the long term on that thing. You were committed to that particular action from day one. So it's important to just acknowledge and understand that there's a big difference between being committed and then being interested in something. If you're really crafting or pushing out to craft the lifestyle that you want to create, and have that be a bigger part of the impact that you have, the way that you enjoy life, the liberty that you have when it comes to money and freedom, and contribution. Everything plays into that thing, right? The commitment has to be there.
Totally. Otherwise, it's going to stay in idea land.
Yeah.
And you'll get into action someday.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I don't know where someday is on the calendar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and
I think it's right next to February 30th. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And, I love the analogy of a commitment ladder, right? So there's rungs to a ladder. And obviously, being on the top rung of the commitment ladder is what's going to make things happen. Because you're right. I remember sitting there, we were having coffee, right, and talking about the idea. And I could see the vision, and I was committed to making that happen just because I simply could. And it sounded like fun. And I was committing to doing whatever it took to make it happen. And, as you know, there were some naysayers like, oh, no, you can't grow that much that fast. And like, fucking watch me.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I didn't quite hit that because it was extremely ambitious. But that's the beautiful thing about commitment and ambition is that if you've never done a thing, you don't know what's possible. And so in that regard, I think ignorance is bliss, because if you knew what was predictable, you would set your aim at that and shoot for that. Whereas if you didn't know anything about it, you can set your sights as high as you want. And if you're committed and if you were like whatever it takes, simply because you can, this is a beautiful expression of you, like you can create some amazing things.
Yeah.
Take a look at the person that ran the first 4-minute mile. They said it couldn't be done. Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about that. It's like, what are the boundaries you're setting on yourself? And if you're committed to the highest and best end result, you might surprise the hell out of yourself of what you're capable of creating.
You know, this reminds me of a story. And I saw it somewhere. I think it was Harvey. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about this story about how ticks, they jump. They have like a 36 vertical jump, right? A 36 inch vertical jump. So they can jump 36 inches. So if you wherever they're at, right, they'll jump and then they'll get on your hair and your body and whatever, and it become a pain in the ass. But they have a 36 inch or a 34 inch something, 30 plus something, vertical jump, right? So they can get far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea, and he used the example of taking one of those and then putting that in, like dropping it into a jar of mayonnaise and then putting a cap on it, right? So they'll try to do the vertical jump and then they'll slam their heads at the top. Boom, boom, boom. After a while of doing that, they'll jump just enough so they don't hit themselves, right, on the head. Right, so they'll limit their jump, even if it's a 36. Their capability. It's a 36-inch vertical jump. They'll jump just enough so they don't hit themselves. You're talking, 5-6 inches, right? Now they have little ticks. They have baby ticks, and they see that. They get conditioned to that.
Absolutely.
And now what happens? Even though they still have the capability to jump to that 36-inch, mark. They'll stay jumping within that level. What happens? You take the cap off, and they'll still think that they can jump to that level. So going back to the commitment and going back to that vision that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. I mean, that's the realest thing, right? And there are gonna be naysayers, but when your commitment is strong, when your commitment is there, you just don't give two shits and fucks about any of that stuff, right? Yeah. Because you have you're in a commitment to yourself that you're gonna honor. It's exactly what you did when you started building the brokerage. Yeah. Fast forward a few years, and I mean, the impact is there, right? It's
same with my seminar company.
Living example.
I had no idea what to do, how to do it, none of it, right?
Yeah.
Yet with a clearly defined vision of what the end result would look like and being committed to that, having a clear intention and paying attention to the plan of action, it unfolded and became super successful.
Yeah.
So it's all about commitment and noticing those self-imposed limitations. So we don't have an actual lid over us, right?
Yeah.
But we do have stories we make up.
Yeah.
We do have those conversations with ourselves and those emotions that come along as a corresponding result of those thoughts. And so there's self-imposed limitations. And the only way to bust through that, in my opinion, is commitment.
100%. I mean, it's programming that's in place, right? We can't get over that threshold of performance, of belief, or self-actualization unless we commit to growing and becoming that better person. It's easy to waffle between the ideas.
And we all do it at some point in time with some things.
I'm going to commit to getting better, and then you go to 2 fucking seminars and you hit the gym 3 months and then you start dwindling from that, right? Commitment has an expiration a lot of times. However, if you turn that into a habit, right, and you turn it into a lifestyle, it becomes a whole different thing. Commitment is one of the best tools. And I want to highlight the word tool. It's a tool.
Point.
It's a tool, all right? Commitment is a tool for improvement.
Yeah, well, and commitment is required to create a new habit, right?
Right.
Because if you think about it, like a lot of people, like you said, the gym, especially around the first of the year, right? New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And they go at it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and then they fizzle out,
Yeah.
right? It's because you cannot act consistently in a manner that's inconsistent with the self-image. That self-image is like a thermostat. It's your mindset at a certain limitation, right? And so commitment is noticing those thoughts, noticing those feelings that are in contradiction to that which you say you're going to do. And commitment helps you move past those conversations, move past those feelings, and stay in action until it becomes a new habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only way it's going to become a new habit is by overriding the current self-imposed limitations in that self-image. Right. And that's going to take commitment, period. And my definition of commitment is just simply doing whatever it fucking takes.
Do whatever it takes. Simple.
And if you're below doing whatever it takes, like just below that is doing my best. Yeah. And how many times you hear employees or people you're coaching, and you're like, do X, Y, and Z. They come back, and you're like, okay, what was your result? No, I didn't hit it. Da da da. Why not? Well, you got to understand, I did my best. It's like, but you didn't do whatever it took.
Right.
And there's a huge difference in lifestyle between those that do their best and those that do whatever it takes, and their results show that.
1,000%. I mean, people oftentimes they don't do long enough, or they don't do enough for long enough. They don't give things, time to perform. I've been there. Hell, I've been there. I've quote unquote committed or been interested in a bunch of shit. Yeah. However, it's not. It doesn't. pay off because it's the longevity of it is not there, right? The factor is not there. So there's four things that I think really connect with or give you clarity on whether or not you're committed. We may feel like we're committed, but are we? I mean, without
results speak.
Exactly, results speak. So you may be doing something. How many times have you talked to somebody, like a new entrepreneur, somebody who's in business and whatnot? They've been at it for, I've been at this thing for 2 years and I can't get any results. Are you committed, to whatever the project is or the business is, right? Or are you just half-assing it? Or are you just going, doing the bare minimum to say that you're doing something, right?
Absolutely.
It's a big difference between interest and commitment. Four keys to identifying commitment, right? The first one is going to be lack of planning. If you're sitting there and you're dreaming about what can be, you're dreaming about the future, and then you're visualizing and doing all that stuff, it's great, right? That's a starting point. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that's needed. It's part of the process. But if you're not really planning something, thinking about the tangible actions that you have to take, and crafting this map to get to that end result that you're looking for, that's a sign of a lack of commitment.
Well, totally, right? Because coming up with the idea is the creation. It's the
Right.
birthing of a thing, right? And it's really fun and exciting to come up with the ideas, right? But then, like you're saying, you got to then take that intangible and make it tangible on paper and set that intention and then map out an action plan. And I don't care how insufficient or incompetent you are, you can say, what's the first best step I could take?
Yeah.
Right? That's something. At least that's a start.
Exactly.
And give yourself permission to have a really shitty, rough draft, because you're going to elevate and polish it as you move into action. You're going to get new information to be information, right? So commitment takes focus, is I think what you're saying. Yeah. And so you can tell someone's not committed if they're not focused. And focus is broken down, in my opinion, into two things: intention, attention. Intentionally, energetically, what are you tied to? Like, what is your emotional connection to that end result? Can you feel it? Can you experience it as if it's happening now? Yeah. So it's more of imagination. It's more of a feeling. Attention is, okay, what are you focused on step by step? What's the do part of it? So intention is more of a beingness. Attention is a doingness. So you got that be and do combined so that you can have.
Right. Well, and I mean, it all wraps into this sense of focus, right?
Totally.
And, you roll with it.
So someone's not focused, you can tell they're not committed.
Yeah.
They're interested.
If you're not focused, you're going to procrastinate a lot, which is key point number 2, right? It's a second identifier of lack of commitment. If you're procrastinating, there's no real vision for you're stuck in analysis paralysis. Just about every single thing that comes at you. So say that you sit down and then start crafting a plan, right? And then you procrastinate because you're dissecting that thing. You're just breaking it down. Or you want it to be perfect before you actually come in and take the actions.
I don't want to make any mistakes.
Yeah. There might be a commitment to action, but not to the end result. All right. Totally. So it may be a case of realignment in terms of focus, which is the first one that we're talking about. But yeah, procrastination. If you're pushing stuff, just off your plate because I can do it tomorrow, or something else comes up, or it's just easy to get you off the horse. I mean, there's a lack of commitment there.
Yeah.
Somebody invites you, hey, let's go have a beer. All right, I'll do that instead of cold calling. I'll do that instead of, sitting down and then, building up my network, or you call it, right, depending on what you're doing.
And I love those examples, right? Because when someone says I'm a procrastinator, I swear to God, I want to punch them. Yeah, because here's why. What you're saying is I'm a procrastinator. Now you just assigned a label, an identity to yourself, and it's very much a victim statement. Because what you're saying is, no, you cannot expect anything different from me because I'm a procrastinator. Yeah. It's like, no, you're not. You know how to avoid and deflect from that which needs to be done that you said you were committed to. Yeah. So clearly you're just interested. You find convenient ways to escape what's uncomfortable, that you don't have confidence in, that you're scared of, and you're going to find, even unconsciously, by the way, ways to avoid and deflect against having to get into action with those things. Yeah. So that's a clear sign of procrastinating, that you're just not committed.
Well, that, and then it's also a clear sign of your self-attributed identity, right? Like if you tell yourself, I'm a good conversationalist. You're going to get to be, if you're not, you're going to get to be a good conversationalist.
Absolutely.
We'll create the identity that we want to, identify with.
Well, I'll give you an example. So as a young child, I was told a lot of things about like if you had a brain, you'd take it out and play with it.
Yeah.
And I remember in grade school getting like those red marks, right, on like spelling bee and stuff. So
Yeah.
I always thought I'm stupid, scholastically speaking, right? Yet in business, I'm super successful.
I remember you saying that shit quite a bit, and
Yeah.
I would get triggered. I would get
I know
triggered.
do.
You remember
But-
that? Yeah.
But I know I'm brilliant in other ways. But scholastically, growing up, that's what I thought. And so that held me back in a lot of areas. However,
Yeah.
in business, it served me well. That mindset that I'm not smart enough served me well, and here's why. Because, as you say, the analysis paralysis, which a lot of entrepreneurs fall into that,
Yeah.
because they want to have a perfect plan so they don't make a mistake, right? They want it to be flawless. They want it to be a seamless plan of action to execute and get to success in the shortest, fastest, most direct route possible. That's not possible, but that's the mindset, right? So me thinking, well, I'm not smart enough to sit down and map it all out. I'm just going to get my ass into action.
Yeah.
So while you're sitting there planning, my ass has already built a company.
Because you're committed.
Because I'm committed, and
Yeah.
I know I don't have all the answers. I know I have unconscious incompetencies. I know that there's things that I just don't know, and I'm not going to know them until I get into action, and I'm faced with it, and then I'm resourceful enough to overcome it.
Right.
So in that regards, I'm brilliant. My point is, thinking I'm not smart enough keeps me from getting into analysis paralysis, because what the hell do I know? I'm not smart. I'm just going to go.
You've created the identity though of a problem solver.
Totally.
And you edify resourcefulness over resources, which makes sense,
Totally.
right? So we'll create that idea of us again. Going back to procrastination. I mean, there's so many reasons or excuses that we can put in front of us to not get shit done, right? That's never gonna end. But if you are procrastinating, and I don't care for what purpose or what reason or what the excuse behind it is, if you're procrastinating on the stuff that you got to do, on the actionables, it's that shows lack of commitment.
Absolutely. And I want to say this one caveat, though. So if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, that's me. Yeah, I procrastinate. The natural tendency is then to go into beat up mode. Like, see, I suck. I'm not going to be successful. Da-da. No. Stop. The best thing you can do is come from compassionate inquiry and say, wait, I noticed, I caught myself. I had the awareness I was procrastinating.
Yeah.
Let me come through compassionate inquiry to understand myself and go, why? What was it that I was avoiding? What was it that I'm deflecting against this? Okay, I'm scared. Great. What am I scared about?
Yeah.
And you can only become that objective and witness yourself through compassion. You can't do it through condemnation, beat up, none of that, because you're just going to find more evidence of how much you suck.
Yeah.
Right? So that compassionate inquiry of like, sit down and process yourself. Have some love and grace and compassion for yourself to understand. Because the more you understand that, the faster you'll be able to make an internal shift and get your ass moving down the road.
Exactly.
And then with that, the next time that you unconsciously go to avoidance, you're going to catch it quicker and you're going to shift faster.
Yeah. You'll recognize it. You pick it up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Third, creative avoidance. Funny you mention it, right? Creative avoidance. I mean, it's again, if it's so easy to just throw you off the horse whenever you're in the middle of actions or whatnot, that shows lack of commitment to your goals. Creative avoidance. And dude, I've done the stupidest things. I remember I caught myself doing this, right? But when I was starting to cold call and then I was doing the wholesaling by myself and doing years ago, and going through all this process, I hated like cold calling. Cold calling wasn't my thing, right? So I thought I was committed to taking off on the wholesale business and doing this and really just getting shit done, right? However, every single time I had to sit there and then pick up the phone and start calling, creative avoidance kicked in.
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, I mean my blinds were so clean, my desk was so tidy and perfect, because every single time I was gonna sit down for a session, I would just start organizing everything around me. Like, it's stupid, right? But
and people suffer from that a lot, I think, the ones that work from home.
yeah.
Like, I don't care. If you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business and you work from home, go rent out an executive suite. Get yourself in a space where there are no distractions. Because, your cat could be sick and that would be
go
convenient.
mode.
Yeah. Oh, there's laundry needs to be done. Your ass doesn't even do laundry. You know what I mean? Oh, there's dishes in the sink and you don't even do dishes. You know what I mean? Like,
avoidance.
you'll find all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So creative avoidance, if it's triggering and it's slowing you down, you may not be procrastinating, right? Technically, because you still want to get shit done, but you're avoiding it somehow, some way.
Love that. Creative avoidance.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a sign of a lack of commitment. I can't remember the show. You remember the show that if you're doing this and that, this is you. the stand-up comedy guys.
Oh yeah, Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's your sign.
yeah, here's your sign.
You might be a redneck if.
Yeah, you might be a redneck if. All right, so here's your sign if you're not committed. And then last but not least, there's no emotional attachment. If you're unattached to the outcome of where you want to get to, if you're unattached to the fact that you're procrastinating, that you're taking part in creative avoidance, that you're not planning, and it doesn't trigger you, that's definitely a sign of a lack of commitment.
Oh, totally.
All right?
Well, think about it. When do you really respect yourself?
Yeah.
It's when you finish a thing.
Yeah.
It's when you say you're going to do a thing and you did it and you finished, regardless of the outcome, you finished the thing. So the emotional attachment to, I did what I said I was going to do. And when you do what you say you're going to do, you start trusting the word you have with yourself more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because think about it. How many people do you know that say they're going to do a thing and then never follow through? You don't trust them. And if you don't trust someone, how much do you actually respect them? And if you don't respect them, you don't admire them. If you don't admire them, you don't have a deep love for them.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Now, you might love them because they're just a wonderful human being, but I'm talking in business as an entrepreneur. And who do you want to collaborate with? Who do you want to build with? You want
Who
to
do you
build
want around you?
Yeah, people
propping
that-
you up whenever you feel stuck.
Absolutely. People that also have proven results where they say they're going to do a thing, they do a thing. And think about it. Would you want to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into business with somebody? I mean, I don't know why you'd use your own money, but assuming you borrowed the money, whatever, you got into business, you made a capital investment, and now you're in business with somebody that doesn't follow through with what they said they're going to do.
Yeah.
And their go-to is, well, I tried, I did my best. Like, that's not going to cut it, man. Because you're going to come up against adversity. It's part of the process. Like, it's inevitable, and it's inherent and innate in being an entrepreneur, period.
Yeah, especially when you're linked to it at an emotional level, right? Do or do not, there is no try.
That's right, Yoda.
Yoda.
Yeah, man.
I'm
Like,
telling you, man.
It's so
that
profound.
Yoda guy has it going
He knew
on.
something, huh?
Yeah. But it's important, right, to have that emotional attachment, to have that emotional buy-in. Why? Because when you link emotion, if you create a vision that's strong enough, if you create a plan of action that's decently solid and it becomes realistic to you, you start to believe it, right?
Yes.
You start to see the outcome. You start to get emotional about it. You start to connect the thing that's gonna pull you through whenever you don't feel like doing stuff.
Which is going to be often.
Yeah, very often.
Well, I'll
quite a
say
bit.
this. That which you emotionalize, you internalize.
Yeah.
And that which you internalize that you continually impress must be expressed through the body.
Yeah.
Right? So it's so important. And meditation and so forth, the key to manifestation is you've got to use your imagination and think and feel emotionally like that end result. You're experiencing it now. You're connecting to the energy of that future experience as if it's in here and now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you going to embody it? How are you going to know what that success feels like? And when you start doing that over and over and over and over again, that's what I did with the brokerage.
Yeah.
There's days I had to remind myself that it wasn't all here. It wasn't all built because I was walking around like it was.
You know one thing that I do to get that, and yeah, I mean, we can have those vivid sparks of emotional connection during meditation, and you wake up and it's like, yeah, it feels like I'm already there, and then you come to real life and the belief is not as strong, as that connection.
Good. Go sit your ass down again, meditate.
Yeah, meditate,
you know what I mean?
meditate some more.
Get it back in that state.
This is one thing that works for me. I go back to the pragmatism of the plan, right? I'll start doing stuff, and I know like maybe it feels like it's a far-fetched goal to get to the point where I want to get. Maybe it's something that I feel like, okay, cool, that might be a little bit hard to tackle. I don't even know if I can do it. Mm-hmm. But here's a plan, the idea that I came up with, and I stick to that. I just go back to it, and start taking the actions, even if the belief is not necessarily there. What happens inevitably is that you get to a point of enough little wins, that it becomes impossible to not recognize it, and then your belief shifts.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, your belief shifts, and then everything's unlocked, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, how do you win a war? You win a lot of the little battles. Not all of them, a lot of the little ones. And so that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, you just keep getting into action and keep moving forward. And I recommend you get yourself in a state as that success has already happened. So you're being that. Yeah. You're thinking that way. You're feeling that way while you're in the do, right? Because more is going to unfold. You're going to attract more opportunities. And it's about those daily wins. How was I being today? Did I execute on what I said I was going to do? Was I committed? Like, what's my commitment score today? Do I get to check the box that I was or was not?
Yeah.
And if you have more days that you were committed than not, even 51%, you're going to have way better results than people that aren't even keeping score, not paying attention, and they're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also one thing that happens is that when those wins come across, because you've already felt them, they feel familiar.
Yeah.
They feel like, okay, cool, yeah,
Natural.
it's
They
part
fit.
of it. So it's easy to kind of miss the wins. Why? Because you're in that trance. But they are what they are, right? So, yeah.
Totally.
I love it, man. I mean, I think it's a huge battle. It's one of the biggest questions that we have at an internal level. Is the commitment there? Sometimes we may feel like commitment is there, but what is it? What exactly is commitment? What does that look like, right?
Well, and I think you got to decide what you're going to commit to.
Right.
And decision is not something that you waffle on. If you think about the word decide, side being the root word.
Yeah.
Where else do you find that root word side? Homicide, genocide, suicide. You know what I mean? Like, it's to kill off. So if you decide a thing, you're saying, I'm killing off all other potential realities.
Yeah.
There are no other options. It's this. Now I can commit.
Yeah.
Because I've killed off everything else.
Yeah. You're prioritizing. You're lining up to yourself or with yourself the alignments that you're gonna take going forward and what matters. You're figuring out what matters. Yeah. When you commit to something, you know that commitment matters, right?
Yeah, make it priority.
Matter. Yeah. Don't commit to a bunch of shit that that doesn't matter to you. It doesn't serve you well, and it's not about saying yes to every single thing, right? It's about saying yes to the right stuff and really going into it and letting it let the process see itself through, whatever that process looks like.
Trust the process.
Yeah, exactly. If it's you starting a business, you're pivoting, you're taking on a new venture, if it's on your health, if it's on your wealth, if it's on a relationship, it doesn't matter, right? The commitment, the principles to commitment are still the same, right? We take what we just talked about, we take them, we take that and we apply it to the rest of areas of our life, and then commit, fucking commit.
Do whatever it takes.
Yeah. So do whatever it takes. Anything else you want to add?
I think I'm complete, man.
I'm complete. Wow.
It feels good. Huh?
Do I complete you?
I didn't say that. No.
Shit got weird real quick.
Yeah,
right.
that escalated quickly.
Cool. Yeah, fam. So, are you committed or are you interested? It's a question that I've posted before, right? And I like to bring it and make it top of mind because it's easy to forget about commitment. It's easy to forget about the stuff that matters. It's easy to forget about the actions that we need to take. It's easy to forget about the fact that we have to recognize the wins as we start going. Commitment is a practice. It's a tool. It's not something that happens as an evergreen, action. It's something that's consistent. It's dynamic. It's always changing, and you always have to come back and then fine tune it, tweak it, reevaluate the commitment, right? But you're there. You're in it. If you commit, if you have the ability to commit to stuff and not waffle around, you're going to be, you have one of the best tools at your disposal for growth, for prosperity, for success in general. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Justin, where can they find you?
Facebook, Instagram, Justin Thorstad, also justinthorstad.com. And, of course, my cell number, 602-348-8534.
Savage. Love it. All right. And do us a big favor. If you like the content that we're putting out for you every single week, make sure that you hit the like button, you share it, and drop a comment. Let us know what you're thinking, all right? We want to have a conversation back and forth. Make sure that you like the podcast on iTunes and just follow us everywhere. You can find me at Rafael Cortez, CEO, on all social media platforms and the YouTube channel. We put a lot of stuff out there on a regular basis. Help us spread the word, all right? That's what I'm going to ask.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, great episode, man. I love it.
Brother. That was good stuff.
I'm digging the Mindset Mondays. We're getting a lot of compliments and good feedback on this stuff.
Cool.
So, stay focused. You got this. Boom.